Hello and welcome. My name is Brandon, and in this little video we're going to start up this outboard. So, recently had some work done. Just going to go ahead and hook up a timing light, make sure everything's kosher on the idle, put it in the water, see how it does. So, let's fire it up. Today we're going to be trying to fix the starter on this 90s Johnson 60 horsepower outboard. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That's just kind of how starters go. So there is little to no chance you are going to get that starter off with this carb cover air silencer thing installed. So you got to remove that. When you do that, there's a good chance whatever is left of your cork gasket in here is also going to be destroyed. So while you're ordering a new starter, if you're just changing it, probably order yourself a couple of these gaskets too. Or you could risk it and hope for the best. That's what I did the first time I had this cover off when I was doing the carburetors. And it's pretty destroyed, but it's fine for now to see if I can get it working. Also, side note about these carburetor to air silencer base screws. After you remove them once, you're supposed to replace them. Yeah. Why? Don't know. They're not like they're torqued to yield or anything, so they can go right back in. I think they just want to make sure that you have nice, clean, good hardware that's not going to vibrate out or shear off in there. I guess. I don't know. I've never done that, and honestly, nor will I. The screws are... I got 6 of them, so let's say you get lucky and they're only $3 a piece. That's not that bad, I guess, but it still seems like a silly waste of money to me. But nonetheless, you are supposed to. So who knew? Base is nearly off. We're going to want to catch the gasket if it falls off. Most of the time it won't, it'll just be stuck to something. There's also a line in the bottom. I want to get that off. This one fell off, so also normal. And now we can get to that bolt. Otherwise the base goes about here. You're never getting that bolt. You might be able to go from the top down, but even then it's just not going to happen. See what I mean? Like you could go there, but yeah, no. Alright, hardest part about changing a starter is getting the willpower to do it. And then once you got that situated, then you got to get this bolt off. That's the second hardest part, because you can't get a wrench in there to hold the backside. And when you try to take off this one, let me show you, the thing just spins. Now you don't want to damage whatever's going on inside too bad, so you got to hold the inside. Short of filing down a wrench to fit inside of there. Usually you can get in there with some needle nose vice grips, and that's usually good enough to hold it. Alright, hard part is over. I should mention the manual has all kinds of checks to do before you just go and remove the starter. You check the solenoid, which mine's working because it's sending power to the starter. And then, your battery, it doesn't say it, but check your battery cables too. Which, I'm not gonna. I use these cables for all kinds of different motors, and they've never given me a problem. And the starter started smoking and it gets burning hot. Chances are there's enough current going to that starter to build up that much heat. It's probably all working. It's probably the starter itself. Well, famous last words, right? Alright, usually I would just go to town here with the impact wrench. But since I already have a ratchet in my hand, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. For whatever reason, I like to loosen all the bolts first and then get the front one off. I suppose it tells me if there's going to be a problem, Starter is clamped to a vise, which is resting on the desk. Full disclosure here. At this point with the starter and a vise, you're supposed to do a no load current test and RPM test. However, here's the thing. I don't care. Why? I know it doesn't work on the motor. Why am I going to test that it doesn't work on the vise? You know what I mean? I mean, you probably should, though, just to verify it's not something else with your engine. But in case you're wondering, the no-load current specifications, model 60 to 7 horse, should have a voltage of 12 to 24 volts coming out of your battery. It should be drawing 32 amps, and the thing should spin an RPM of 5,750 to 8,000. All right, well, let's tear into this starter like we know what we're doing. Let's see what we can fix. Got some bolts up top that do some things. We're going to remove those. I think they're 3/8, yep. All right, bolts come right out. Pretty dirty, rusty, and ugly. Good chance the inside of our starter is going to look the same way. Let's find a starter hammer. All right, and we can see why our starter doesn't work. Corrosion. It smells so bad. Look at all those little electrical bits. So this winding down there is stuck. That one kind of works. This one's fine. This one's fine. So it was spinning with the two brushes doing something, I think, because these two probably not doing anything. Looks like the smoke we might have seen was the insulation coming off this brush set right here, because it's bare now. So what was probably happening was this positive was shorting down to the ground, causing it to smoke, draw more power than it should, and this side of the brushes were still doing something. That's my educated guess. Before we decide what we're going to do with it, let's pop open the top. Yeah, this is a starter remover screwdriver, special tool. So our armature, while smells disgusting, doesn't spin the best on the top bearing there. It's really not as bad as I would think it would be. You know, we got a little bit of corrosion-y stuff going on inside of there. Took some proper grit emery cloth per the instructions of the service manual, and I cleaned off the bottom, and you can see some pitting on the bottom of the armature shaft itself. But I don't really care, because it's I don't know, what is that, 3/8 steel shaft, and I'm missing 1/16 of an inch of metal. It's probably fine. The outside doesn't look too bad. We got a little bit of rust on the outer, I don't know, what do you want to call it, windings or whatever. But the windings themselves, they look like clean, good copper. I don't see any rust, any corrosion, any smoke. I don't see nothing. So, all we really got is that. Now, the manual says to put it on a lathe and turn it down and then clean this off. And yeah, I don't have a lathe. And even if I did, it would be one of the small, crappy Harbor Freight ones, and this thing ain't going to fit in it. So, clean it off by hand. Now, the permanent magnets. They are permanently in there still, and they're still magnets. So, yeah, they're probably fine. So you can see where my internal fire is, or was. A bunch of melty plasticky stuff all over the side, but the rest of it's cleaning up pretty nicely. So this wouldn't have been that bad if I didn't break a screw off down inside of there. Because I probably could have put some brushes in it, and the starter probably would have worked fine after cleaning, of course. So yeah, need to do base cap. But I fixed up a Johnson 90 horse a while ago that also had a dead starter. So I'm wondering if I can rob its base cap off there. So I'm going to find out. Like really nice. Like surprisingly nice. So I'm going to reinstall it. Looks like it'll fit. Looks like the brushes are the same. So all I need to do is get this piece of emery cloth here and sand off the top of the brushes. Try to get them a little nicer. Alright, now I'll just emery cloth down the rust on the armature. Oh yeah, that's looking good. I'm actually not even just trying to get it off. I'm just trying to make this thing so it'll spin smooth, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, that did it. Alright, you're supposed to here put in just a drop of lightweight motor oil. I think it's like SAE10 or something like that. I ain't got none of that, and I really don't want to go get any, and I don't even know if the parts store sells it. I'm pretty sure the lowest you can get at the parts store is like 30. I could be wrong, I probably am. Nice glove. But anyway, so I think I'm going to go with ATF. It's nice, thin, watery, and lubricatey all at the same time. Okay, let's find where I put, there it is. So, little holes need to align between the two little magnets. Just like so. And looking down the barrel of it here, and that is how it's going back on. You go wire wheel these beauties up. Okay, screws are clean. Put them in there to get them started. I'm going to put just a drop into this bushing. Yeah, it's about a drop, huh? Now there is a special tool you use to reinstall the brushes. That is a cardboard box, at least part of one. They recommend using like a large putty knife or a taping knife. The thing is, yeah, I cut that all wrong. So I have one here. I use this as a dustpan. It works great, best dustpan I'll ever use. But I just didn't want to cut it up. I've used like metal rulers and stuff before, but it seems like this will work too. Yeah, that'll work fine. So, bolts on the front, which means our little armature comes out towards the rear. So all I'm going to do is use this piece of cardboard to hold these brushes down for me, hopefully. Kind of got to get them started, which is kind of the hard part. Hopefully the cardboard works. Can't really bend it too much, otherwise it ain't going to work during installation. There we go. Alright, I've got the first one in. Now I'm just trying to align the caps so the screws aren't coming off sideways or anything weird. Cap is a little off, but the bottom looks fine, and we're rotating again. So I'll tighten these down and see what happens. It feels pretty good. Don't feel like I screwed anything up at all. Let's go put it on. Okay, moment of truth. Starter's reconnected. Remote start switch is hooked up. Let's see what happens. And to think I was going to buy a new one. Oh, I'm silly. Well, I guess that's it for now. So if you have an engine with a dead starter, chances are it's going to look like that one did inside. So it's real simple. All you have to do is have a small collection of old bad starters and rob them for parts to make one good one. Easy. You could be wondering why I didn't use more of the parts from the other starter, because the V4 starters are physically a different size. It's, I don't know, half inch longer, so it wouldn't have worked. In case you're wondering why this starter is bad, I have no idea. Looks like we got corrosion going on inside of there. So this starter just got boiling hot, really hot. Like smoking couldn't handle it hot. And it looks like the encapsulating resin here, it's all just melted and fried. Oh, look at that. There's some of the permanent magnet broken out of there. That's fried. So, happy coincidence, I suppose, that... Oh yeah, that's destroyed, huh? So, if your starter has a top end, this would be it. So this starter's top end was bad, but it obviously had a pretty nice lower unit, making the repair of this one feasible. So I don't suppose that many people are going to have this option, but now you know it is an option. The other thing too is this video might show you more of how you can change out the brushes inside of these things and still get some life out of them. Because a Chinesium one of these is like 70 bucks, not bad, but they're not as good. Let's say that. This old used one, it's probably going to work just as good and cost me no more than an hour's worth of work. And that hour is mostly breaks and getting the willpower to actually come and do it.